I want my father to be the sperm donor for my fiancé and me. But she believes it's not right. My 21F fiancé 22F and I have been doing some future planning lately. We're set to get married in the spring next year, and we know we both want kids, so we sat down and talked about how we'd like to make that happen. She's okay with adopting, but I'm not for a variety of reasons, and we determined that the option that makes us both the happiest is getting a sperm donor. It's extremely important to me that the baby be genetically related to both of us. Since she's not in contact with her family homophobic, the only way baby would be related to both of us is if she carries the child and the sperm comes from my side of the family. I'm an only child, and have no uncles or male cousins of an appropriate age. The only way we could do this is if my dad 51M is the donor. I figured he would be excited to help us have the family we've always dreamed of, and I talked it over with him and he was totally on board. He said he'd let my mom 52F know we were planning on adding to our family. Everything is ready to go on our end whenever we decide to start trying. I thought it was a really beautiful way to unite our sides of the family, and I know my dad felt the same, but to my surprise my fiancée was really against it. She laughed at me at first, which confused me because we were having a serious conversation, and then she asked if I was joking. When I said I wasn't, her face immediately dropped. She literally looked disgusted. She said that would be really weird, as our baby would be my sibling, and that she wasn't comfortable with that in any way, shape or form. My dad has stepped in a bit for her because of the aforementioned homophobia in her family, and has become a secondary sort of father figure for her, which she brought up. She said having his baby felt wrong and incestuous. She said it wouldn't feel like a medical procedure or fertility help, it would feel sexual. That's insane. I don't see how it's different from any other donor, other than actually meaning something to us. I am honestly kind of insulted. This is a rejection of my family as well as me, and the fact that she refused to even consider it made me feel overruled in something that's supposed to include both of us. I can't see myself having a connection to a baby that isn't related to me. It wouldn't be my baby, just a baby I'm taking care of. Even if she says she doesn't feel the same, I think she'd have a hard time with it if it was the other way around and the baby wasn't related to her. This feels like our only option, and she shot it down without considering my feelings. This is really important to me. I'm worried we won't be able to compromise on this, and we'll never have kids, which would be a deal breaker for me. Additionally, this is also the cheaper option for kids. We wouldn't have to pay for donor sperm, which can cost a lot, and we wouldn't have to do expensive IVF stuff either, since if we get it from my dad, it can all be done at home. Comments. Comment 1. If you can't love a child that wasn't created with your daddy's sperm, i.e., your sister, then you are not ready to have children. If you really want a biological child, then you should be the one impregnated. Your utter disregard for your fiancé's bodily autonomy is spectacular. If she is carrying the baby, she absolutely gets veto power over the sperm donor. You say your dad has taken a fatherly role for her, and in the same post tell her that you want to stuff her up with daddy's spunk. That's incredibly disturbing. The fact that you arranged all this behind her back without once discussing it with her shows exactly how little respect you have for her as a person. Comment 2. I feel like I'm missing something. The mom was disgusted by the idea, and I think the dad agreed, thinking that Oop already asked her fiancé about this. I'm not sure why she went no contact with her parents after all of this. It seems like it was her idea, and now she's blaming her parents for it when everyone was rightfully disgusted by this. All I got from this was that Oop's mom was happy being pregnant, so Oop wanted a baby that was biologically hers without being pregnant. And that's somehow her parents' fault. I'm confused. Grossed out and confused. Update 1. Before I say anything else, I want to say thank you to those of you who responded to me with concern. Someone linked to a page on emotional incest, and it was really eye-opening for me. A lot of people were quick to jump to judgment, so I really appreciate the few who were nice. I read all the comments, was shocked and horrified and hurt, took a night to process, and then had another talk with my fiancé. Goes nearly without saying that we are taking a break right now while I figure some stuff out. We are still staying together, we still have plans to get married, but are seriously reconsidering kids and putting a lot of things on hold right now for both of our health. She's been a lot more hurt by this than I think I realized when I first posted. I don't want to get too deep into my family's issues, but I'm starting to realize that the way I was raised wasn't normal. I am an only child, but my parents always wanted a big family, like 5 or more kids. Unfortunately, for a bunch of reasons, both monetary and otherwise, it never worked out. I think they always imagined they'd have the big family they wanted when I had kids, so they pushed me to do that every chance they got. My mom always says that being pregnant with me was the happiest she was. My parents had no idea I was thinking of at home IUI. And my mom nearly went through the roof when I clarified, among other things. We have a lot to talk about. She said she wouldn't have even considered it if she knew I hadn't asked my girlfriend if she was sure yet, and that it was really stupid of me to not go for IVF. It was just a really thoughtless action on my part. It's still important to me that a future child either be blood-related or be carried by me. So I think that if we ever have any in the future, I'll be the pregnant one so I can feel that connection. We weren't going to do that at first because I have a really stressful career path and it would have been smarter for my girlfriend to get pregnant. But I think it's the healthiest option for us. We're not serial killers, cultists, or incest fetishists. It all sounded really reasonable to me at the time. I had absolutely no idea that there would be this much disgust coming from everyone. I've decided the best thing for me is to go into therapy as soon as possible and limit my contact with my parents for a while. They mean well and really love me, but I think I might need to figure some stuff out on my own. Update 2. I haven't logged on to Reddit in months, so I hadn't realized people were wondering what happened with us. I had attempted to post an update months ago, but my original post was removed as spam. We are still together. Nobody is pregnant with my father's sperm. In fact, I started therapy soon after the original post, and have now been no contact with my family for 3 months. I realized a lot of my perspective on the issue was caused by some really messed up ideas I was raised with. When I tried to bring that stuff up with my parents and possibly try to start family therapy, they went ballistic. At this point, if we do have donor-conceived kids, my parents might not ever meet those grandchildren. It wasn't a result my fiancé or I could ever have anticipated at the time of the original post, but that's just how the cookie crumbled. Looking back, I can definitely see where all the extremely disgusted reactions to my original post were coming from. I still think the attacks on my personal character were unwarranted. I think that a lot of people won't understand how being raised in a seriously dysfunctional family can impact your thinking until they deal with that themselves. The craziest stuff just felt normal to me. I wish I'd never let my parents get so personally involved in my relationships from the start. Now, for the next story. AITAH for telling my mom she's dead to me if she decides to mentor the person who bullied me. So my 16M mom 40s is a teacher at my school. Our school has a special elective you can take, which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave 17M to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly both physically and emotionally since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspensions on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school, I haven't had to see him as much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why would she want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for kids who come from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things he had done to me and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish and some kids have it harder than I can imagine and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would not longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her, and the minute I turned 18, I was moving out and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies, and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room, and am not allowed out except dinner until I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18, and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming in crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me feel kind of bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed. Comments. Comment 1. I don't get it. For all the sympathy she has for her son's bully, she has very little for her son. And she's a teacher, so I would expect a bit more tact from her on handling this situation. Why would she be so stubborn about this? I guess she could just be a bad teacher, bad mom, bad person in general. But there doesn't seem to be evidence of that outside of this specific case. It could just be that the OOP didn't mention unrelated incidents. Well, anyways, I hope it was worth it for her in the end. Comment 2. Typical bleeding heart behavior. It's not altruism, it's narcissism. Let's be very honest here. She just likes the other kid a lot more than her own son. Probably wishes he was her kid instead. It's not something unheard of. Happens quite a lot. Even after all this, she won't care. She'll probably give personal counseling or even monetary help to the other kid in the years ahead, even if OOP leaves as he said he would. It would be in her graying years that she'll realize how much she fucked up, if at all, and that's a good 30 to 40 years in the future. OOP should look out for himself and move out. It's over. Update. I'm sorry I stopped answering everyone's questions. I just kind of freaked out when this blew up out of nowhere, and I almost deleted it a few times, because I was scared someone at school would see it and recognize me. Everyone letting me know that it's not my fault helped a lot though, so I felt less embarrassed about someone I know potentially seeing it. Nothing has really changed, but a lot of you made a good point that if I'm really going to go this route, then I need to come up with a plan for what I'm going to do when I get out. I considered the military like some people suggested, but then I remembered my school has a special trade program. You go to our school for half a day, then spend the other half at our local community college taking trade classes. I think depending on what you are doing, you can get an associate's degree or whatever certifications you need by the time you graduate. I went to my guidance counselor during lunch today and told her I wanted to switch to that program. She acted really surprised and asked why did I want to change now since I'm already taking AP classes and I am on the college track. I told her I didn't want to talk about it, but I would need to be ready for independence when I graduated, and this seemed like the best way. She said it might be too late to change this semester, but she would look into it for me and let me know. Update 2. Mina. AITAH for telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully. To everyone who said my mom was sleeping with Dave, you were right. Just kidding, y'all are weirdos and watch too much porn. A lot has actually happened since last week, and while nothing is really fixed, I think things are going in the right direction. On Friday I got called out of class to the guidance counselor. When I got there, my mom and the assistant principal were there as well. The counselor asked me to sit down and said that me changing tracks from college to trade, like I mentioned in my last post, was a big decision, and she wanted to sit down with my mom and me to figure out if this really was the best for my future. She first asked me if I would fully explain why I wanted to switch. I explained the whole situation from my perspective and about how I was being punished. I said that if this is how I was going to be treated from now on, I wanted to become independent as soon as possible, and going to college would have me relying on my parents for longer than I would like. She then asked my mom if she had anything she would like to add. My mom tried to downplay the who situation at first and make it look like I was just being stubborn and disrespectful, but as the counselor asked her more questions, it became pretty clear that my side was truth. After this, the AP stepped in and said that a teacher's aide was not worth all of this turmoil, and that Dave would be switched with another teacher. The counselor then asked me if this would help me to start working things out with my mom. I said not really, because it wasn't even her choice and she hasn't even admitted she's done anything wrong. She then asked my mom if she was willing to apologize for anything that had happened. My mom gave a half-hearted apology where she said things had gone overboard, and she never meant to hurt me so much. The counselor asked if I would like to apologize for anything as well, and I said not really, but nobody pressed me on it. The counselor then said about my transfer, it was too late for this semester. What she suggested is that my mom and I and possibly my dad should go to a family counselor for the rest of the semester. I would stay in my current classes, my parents would give me all my stuff back, and we could see if we can come to some kind of peace before next semester. She then asked my mom that if after that I still had not changed my mind, would she accept the class changes. My mom said no at first, because she wanted me to go to college, but I told her that she had already failed me as a mother once. Please don't do it again. She got really quiet and said she would agree to it if that was what I really wanted. When I got home, all my stuff was returned to me. I also started talking to my mom again. I just kind of felt like there wasn't a point to ignoring her anymore. I don't treat her like a mother or anything anymore, but I'll answer her if she asks me a question. It just feels like that now that I have a plan. A lot of my anger is gone and I just see her as a person who happens to live in my house. We haven't scheduled our first counseling session yet, but I don't see it changing much anyway. The damage is done, so I don't see myself changing my mind. That's pretty much it. I probably won't update again unless something crazy happens or something. Thank you to everyone who gave me good advice.